the business 17 years, the biggest challenge is really three things. Number one, and I love what they talked about with the core. I was a part of the core for 7 years. Loved being coached by the core. So here's what you got to do. Number one, Greg Gale, the last session is going to be talking about activity to generate 100 leads. Guys, y'all know that's a lot of leads, right? That is a lot of consistent leads. So you've got to know not only what to do, but are you consistently doing the right activity? What's the second piece of the puzzle? It's leads, right? So I remember meeting with a financial planner friend of mine, and I said, well, hey, how do you annuitize the business? A financial planner, what do? Their goal is to get to 100 million. If I can get 100 million, they're going to trail $1 million in revenue. The key in the mortgage business, if you're in this business and you say, how do I annuitize what it is I'm doing? It's leads. More leads solve most problems. Not all. We've heard that all our life. Hey, you got to get more leads solve more problems. The third component is this. Once you're getting leads, are you converting what you're currently getting? So the question is not how many loans did you close this month, it's how many did I lose? Anybody fighting the rate objection? Online lender, you go under contract, and literally when you go to lock them in, they say, hey, I'm so glad that you're working with me. I'm shopping 2 other lenders. And you're like, do what? You're shopping 2 more lenders? Like, I got you that pre-approval on Saturday when I was sitting at my kid's soccer game. And on Friday night when I was supposed to be kissing my wife on a date, you asked for a pre-approval. Now we're under contract with 25 days to close, and you tell me you're what? What? I'm like, you're crazy. I'm going to drop kick you. But listen, here's what's funny is this. In December, I only closed 3 loans. January, anybody had a rough January? 2 loans. So I threw them up, the big numbers, right? And 6 loans in February. Here's the interesting thing. First quarter for me was tough. It was the toughest first quarter I've had in 7 years. And what I realized was this. I had 36 contracts come in. Out of 36 contracts come in the first quarter, I only kept 22. So tell me, I don't know about you guys, but that's a problem. I love Kelly talking about numbers. I'm a numbers nerd. Like at the end of the day, numbers tell the tale. So what I realized was 40% of my business was leaving me after I was already under contract. So we get the contract, and I'm saying, hey, Jolea, I'm so glad you're under contract. What we're going to do is we're going to firm up these numbers, and that way we can move you forward in the process, right? So I was losing 40% of those. In the last 90 days, out of 56 opportunities, 51 of them closed. So went from 60% to 94.4% closing. And what I wanted to do is in this 30-minute session, super quick, and then we're going to do a stretch break, then Mark Blundell. But I wanted you to walk away with some tactics. If I can share with you a handful of scripts that I'm using personally to get that number to 94.4%, you feel like it's a good session? Hey, and I got to attribute it. Hopefully Josh Sigmund will see this, but you guys know Josh. Love Josh. Great friend. He's the one who got me on the journey to scripting and really leading and not selling. That's what I've learned is this. I can get the business, but how do I lead a client and not have to sell them? And if you think that the little tweaks in your business don't matter, think of the last game you lost by only 1 point. It's usually not the big things that make the greatest impact. I love what Jim Collins said in Good to Great. It's the small things that make the biggest difference. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to run you through 2 scenarios. One of them is the first lead call, because in order to lead and not sell, you have to be able to start from the very first conversation. Second thing I'm going to run you through is how we have an effective loan consult. So if you're not calling it a loan consult, I would ask you, number 1, why? And number 2, I want to show you some things we're doing to help us get to 94% conversion. So here it is. On the new lead call, there's 4 steps. So it's referred by. Second one is going to be the referral relationship. So you're going to have to acknowledge the referral relationship. Number 3 is going to be the loyalty uplift. So the loyalty uplift is going to help you, and it's going to help whoever referred you. And the last one's the close. And so you guys are going to have to work with me a little bit. If I do some scripts, I'd like for you to do them with me. But the first one says referred by. So here's how simple it is. When you get the phone call, and you guys are getting them right now, so thank you for taking your time to be here at this event. But it's literally ring, ring. Hey, this is Steve. Hey, I'm looking for a mortgage loan, right? Or they'll say, hey, I'm looking to buy a house in the next few months. Here's what you always want to say is, number 1 is, who referred you to me? So you've got to ask that. Hey, who referred you to me? Because what I need to know is, where is that lead coming from? at the very beginning of the phone call. And I know some of these you guys may already know, but there's a process behind it. So when you're saying, hey, who referred you to me? And then the next thing you need to understand is, what did they say about me? So what's funny is, what they'll say is, hey, call Steve. And if you've ever heard this and you say, hey, well, what did they tell you about me, Tammy? And they'll say, if you ever heard this, oh, he's got the lowest rate in fees. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. They're all lying. But here's what I think is the funniest thing. What does that tell me when I go back to talk to the referral partner? We're going to have a conversation because you're not referring me right, and I can't win if you set me up bad. And we both lose because I can't give you the loyalty uplift and build the hedge around your client. So here's what it does. It gives you the ability to track the lead, number one. You got to know that when you're asking who referred you to me, what did they tell you about me? Gives me the ability to track leads. If you guys aren't using a lead tracker, reach out to Heath Barnes. He'll get you a lead tracker. Somebody at the core, everybody's got them. But a lead tracker is simply who's the lead, the phone number, the email, who referred you to me. The second thing it does is this. It helps you track conversion. Have you ever had somebody send you and you're like, man, I'm killing it. I got 60 leads. In January, we had a record lead month. The problem was 67 of them came from a bad referral source. But you don't know if you're not asking who referred you, what did they tell you about me. The next thing you do is you're able to thank that partner for the business. That's critical. So here's the second part, referral relationship. In the first lead call, hey, who referred you to me? Tell me what they said about me. The next one is, hey, how did you meet Tom? Everybody say it. How did you meet Tom? So you can't say, how do you know Tom? You have to say, how did you meet Tom? And here's what they'll say, and it's going to set you right up for your next loyalty uplift. But they're going to say, oh, I met Tom at an open house, and my wife thought he was super nice. He knew the neighborhood. He's got 2 other listings, and we decided to work with him. And it'll set you up for the next one, which I'll come to, but you've got to ask, how did you meet? Because when they say, oh, she's my best friend, you're like, thank God. I'm not going to have to fight for this one as hard as I thought I was going to have to fight. But it's going to help lay a foundation so that you understand the nature of the relationship of who referred you and the referral. It also opens the conversation. You wouldn't believe the crazy stories that come out when you're like, hey, well, how did you meet Matt? Well, and then it just opens a tremendous dialogue, and it's no longer about sales, because here's what you don't know. When your client calls, you know all they know to ask you is, what's your rate and fee? And what I typically say is, hey, Sue, I get that question a lot because most people don't really know what to ask. Hey, first let me ask you, Sue, who referred you to me? Great. What did they tell you about me? Cool. Sue, how did you meet Tom? Oh, my gosh. And here's where it goes into the next one. It's the loyalty uplift. Oh, my gosh, Sue, you are so lucky. If I were buying a house, and here's where you're not a liar. Because I used to struggle with this. I'm like, how can I say if I were buying a house, that's who I would use? Because I don't want to lie and really have some integrity. And some of the people referring me, I wouldn't buy a house with them. But I didn't just say that, did I? Actually, hopefully you're not working with those as many. But here's what you're able to say is, if I were buying a house in that neighborhood, Tyler, that's who I would use. And here's the 3 things you got to say behind it, because they're going to save you time, money, and negotiate aggressively. So what I've done in literally 65 to 70 seconds is I've taken a cold call. I've given them validation. I understand where they were referred from, how they were referred, how they know the person that referred me, and I gave the realtor a loyalty uplift. And then at the end of my call, most of the time I'm going to say, hey, if you feel like I'm taking great care of you, tell Tom I'm taking great care of you too, because it's important to him. So what I think it's important is, if I were buying a home in that area, so I'm not a liar, that actually there's one of my realtor partners here, Oscar. I would refer him to you, and I do refer him to you, my brother. So I'm laughing. I forgot you was in the room. He did sell my house, though. So I'm just, it's such a great way to validate and reaffirm, because here's what happens is, what we're confused, we think everybody wants to shop. Not everybody wants to shop. My wife wants to shop. So my wife, and this is what got me on the journey, because I told her, I said, honey, I am so tired. I did this one deal. And we literally, it was nights, it was weekends, and it was an agent who didn't refer me well. And I just assumed surely she's going to work with me. We go under contract. I mean, I had her fully underwritten up front. I worked hard, and she left me for an eighth. And Steph said, I'm sorry, but I probably would too. You mean you're going to leave this right here for an eighth, honey? Come on. I got you 3 kids. But she was, because she's a high DC, she's a 99D, 99C. And I said, well, then what's the key? She said, you should have told me up front. And so as you're leading them through the conversation, we're beginning to learn how to lead and not sell. And so that's part of the journey we're on. So here, let me go back to the loyalty uplift. So what you're saying is if I were buying a home in that area, that's absolutely who I would use. They're going to save you time. They're going to save you money. And they're going to negotiate aggressively. And here's the last part of that initial lead call. It's the close. So most of you, how many of you are trying to talk rate and fees and numbers on the first call? You don't have to raise your hand. But here's what I would challenge you is this. I don't ever take lead calls. I take every first lead call. I have a front end and I have a back end. I take every first lead call I can take. I tell the agent, text me. I'll make the first call. And the call, or they'll call me. And it's just, hey, who referred you to me? What did they tell you about me? How did you meet them? Fantastic. If I'm buying in that area, that's absolutely who I would use. They're going to save you time, money, negotiate aggressively on your behalf. Tell me a little bit about your home buying process. So that's not on the scripts. You can go wherever you want to go. But don't go longer than 3 to 4 minutes because it's too long. And here's what I'm going to say. Hey, fantastic. You buy the house. Who all's moving in? Oh, that's so exciting. I tell you, I got 3 kids. Oh, you got 3 kids. Oh, my kid plays soccer. Oh, you do too. Fantastic. Hey, well, listen, I'm looking forward to working with you. Let me walk you through everybody say, clear next step. That's your close. Clear, say it, next step. You try to, I think some of us walk past the sale, and the sale is too much. What does a client want? 60% of the population don't care about rate and fees. They want to think they're getting a good deal and that they're being led well. So the close is, hey, here's your clear next step. So, Brian, here's what I'm going to do is when we get off the phone, I'm going to text you the link to the online application, or I'm going to email it to you. Once you get it, take you 15 minutes to fill it out. What I find takes the most time is gathering all the documents. That's the pain. But listen, if you do that today, Jolea on my team tomorrow will call you to book our loan consult. Hey, do you have any questions for me? Fantastic. Will you make sure to tell Tom that I'm taking great care of you? And guys, that happens in about 3 minutes. And what happens is I'm very slowly setting them up to keep saying yes. Okay, great. I can fill out an online. I had an 80-year-old lady fill out an online application that closed 2 months ago. Everybody can do an online application. I'm serious. I don't do the phone apps. And so I said, hey, let me walk you through your clear next step. Here's what I'm going to do. You prefer text or email? Oh, I prefer email. Great. I'm going to email it to you. If you have any questions, call me. I'll walk you through it. She never called. App comes through. We booked the loan consult. Good stuff? Okay, so can you do this for me in 60 seconds? Don't get up. Turn to your neighbor and tell them what part of this you're going to use in your next first call. Come on. Do it. It's interactive. Come on. What part? So you got 60 seconds. Hey, do you feel like that was helpful? Real tactical, real easy. Hey, and most of us are already doing it, but let me encourage you with this. It's the little tweaks. You guys have a great business. I know so many of you personally, and you're on the cusp of exploding your business, and most of you are already there. And what you'll find is this. All it takes is a little tweak to increase your conversion. You don't need 50 more leads. I'll give you an example. The way this helped us last month, not this last month that just happened, the month before that, we only had 64 leads. But let me tell you what happened. That's not a great month. We've been averaging 75 to 84. My target for my team is 85 leads. But in the 60s, we had 51 complete online applications, 78%. And what you've got to do is just tweak it a little bit. It's not the big things that are causing your business to be a challenge. It's the little words that you're using to set your client up to literally shop you, as opposed to just assuming the close and leading them to their clear next. Doesn't that feel good? Hey, what's my clear next step? That's all I need to know. And I tell people this. There's 88 things that can go wrong in a transaction, But don't worry, my team and I are going to take care of that for you. We're going to show you your clear next step. Hey, so let me show you one thing. Loan Officer Leadership Podcast, we're passionate about it. I'm very neutral. I don't promote mortgage companies on it, although I'm at a mortgage company that I love dearly. I want you to know it's a safe place to get great information. We've got How to Do an Effective First Lead Call, episode 22. I would love for you guys to subscribe to it. Be with us on that journey. Okay, second thing, loan consult, 17 minutes left. I'm going to talk to you some keys on a loan consult. So how many of you are having loan consults? Cool. So what's interesting is this. I found that even if I were a one-man shop, even if I didn't have a front end, I would still set them up for a loan consult. Because here's what, it's so funny. 30 days ago, Mike and I were talking about this, and it was like, if I send out another loan estimate, if I send out any more numbers to these clients, I'm going to pull my hair out. And I'm like, bro. And it wasn't him. I'm just saying we were talking about this, and it was crazy because the truth be told, I sent maybe 2 last month. I don't send any. The reason why? Because people, again, too much information, they don't know what to do with it. Can you read a loan estimate? I can't. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm like, okay. The other day, a client called me and like, hey, can you walk me through this? I'm like, no, can you go to page 4 of the loan app and I can walk you through the summary? Because it's so complicated. Like, what do people want to know when they go to closing? What is it? Hayden, it's great to see you. What monthly payment, cash to close, right? That's all, and what? Well, hopefully they're all fixed. And I mean, you can't go wrong. But here's what happens is, even if you're taking in that lead call, here's how I would take in that lead call. Hey, Tom, again, I am so glad that you called. Your clear next step, complete the application. When I see it come through, I'm going to call you to book our 15-minute loan consult. You guys are like, 15 minutes? How do you do it? I'm going to show you how we do it. And most of the time, you can even say 30 minutes if you like. But a year ago, I was doing an hour loan consults. Like, how many of us are guilty of bringing somebody in your office and an hour and a half later, you're like, get out of my office. I don't want to talk anymore, and I got 22 more calls to make. It's because you're not leading, you're letting them lead, which gives them the control, which means they're going to shop you, and you're only going to capture 60%. And so when you're in a loan consult, so everybody say loan consult, it sets you apart as an expert. So if you're in my loan consult, it's because you want my advice. I'm the expert. Like, he told you to call me because he trusts me. And if you trust Heath, I'm asking you to trust me as I guide you through this process. So it's not about rate and fees anymore. Matter of fact, most of the time, I get off, and when I put my notes in my loan consult, I didn't even quote an interest rate. And Joe's like, did we quote one? I'm like, no. Well, okay, great. Then it's current market, right? But it's because a loan consult sets you apart. It brings a clear mortgage plan. Everybody say clear mortgage plan. Doesn't that feel better than, hey, what's your mortgage? Or, hey, what's your rate and fees? So every word I'm saying is I'm trying to build a clear mortgage plan to guide you to your goals. Not my goals. I got a house. You came to me because I'm the enemy of you getting that home, and I want to make sure that I'm helping you build a clear mortgage plan to meet your goals. So when we go into it, in this 30-minute loan consult, why did I say 30 minutes up front? I set the expectation because at 29 minutes, guess what? I'm probably on another loan consult. So, and it's like, hey, guys, this has been a phenomenal call. I've got another scheduled call. Let me ask you this. So you can close it out and move on to the next loan consult. But you set your time in this 15-minute loan consult, in this 30-minute loan consult, in this 45-minute loan consult. You're, again, leading them. We're going to build your clear mortgage plan, and here's what that looks like. It's so simple. And my friend Mike Baker, it's so funny. He taught me this years ago. He reminded me just a few minutes ago when I was in the business. He said it a little bit different, but it's really this. I'm going to help you build a clear mortgage plan focused on your goals. We're going to talk about sales price, monthly payment, cash to close. Outside of those 3 things, here's where the next script is. Is there anything else I can help answer for you? Everybody say, is there anything else I can help answer for you? Is that the way I did it? Yeah, I can help answer. That's fine. So is there anything else I can help answer? Why do you have to ask that? You got to know what their questions are. You know what? 90% of the people say, nope, if you answer sales price, monthly payment, cash to close, it's going to be a great call. Fantastic. Because what I know now is, what if they were wondering about escrows? What if they wanted to know about 15 versus a 30? Hey, so is there anything else I can help answer for you in this 30-minute loan consult? I'm literally going to go to the next one. And when they tell me something, you know what I tell them? Hey, do you have any other questions? Don't answer it. The temptation is to start going into, well, let me tell you about escrows. Let me tell you about monthly payment. Don't do it. You say, hey, is there anything else I can help answer for you? Great. Hey, do you have anything else, Millie? Any other questions? Hey, Corey, anything else I can answer for you? And I go all the way down, and then I wrap it up, and I say, hey, listen, if I can answer sales price, monthly payment, cash to close, answer these 4 questions that we just went through, will you feel like this was a great loan consult? And you know what they'll say? Yes. Fantastic, then let's get started, and that's where we start going through their goals. And their goals are sales price, monthly payment, cash to close. Once I go through their goals, and here's what I'm going to ask. Hey, Matt, the houses you were looking at, tell me about the sales price range you were looking at. Hey, I'm looking in the 300, but I saw one at 425. I don't know if I'll qualify. Fantastic. Let's start high, and then we can move it down according to your goals. When you were looking at buying a house, you had a plan. What's your goal for monthly payment? Well, my goal for monthly payment was $1,100, and they told me a $300,000 house, right? They'll do it. You guys know it, every one of us. So, but here's the thing that I just did. What did I do? I just realized there's a gap, and I'm not going to correct their gap. I'm going to let their sales price lead the way. So, okay, $300,000, $1,100. I don't correct it at all. Fantastic. Include taxes, insurance? It does. We're in the right ballpark for sure. And then you're going to say, okay, well, fantastic, $1,100. And hey, if you found the Taj Mahal, what's the max you'd be willing to go? Okay, $1,200. Fantastic. That's great. All right, now let's talk about cash to close. Cash to close is made up of 3 things: down payment, closing costs, prepaid items, because they always forget the bottom 2. And so what I'm doing now is going to the next slide. I'm starting to talk numbers. And then I let their goals begin to set the pace, not me telling them you're looking too high. Hey, $350 all day long, $2,800. How does that feel? That's what they say, Matt. Whoo, that's too high. But I was looking at Zillow, or I was looking at, somebody online, and when I ran the numbers, it was better than that. Of course it was. That's why you're here at an expert in a loan consult that can give you a clear mortgage plan. I'm glad you're here, right? So, and then here's what I do when somebody says rates. So what do you say when you say rates? Hey, what's your rate? And I love this because I used to be so scared. Pam, you asked about fear. I had 2 fears, and I've overcome both of them. And we're starting to, after 17 years, overcome even more. But the first one was, hey, I was afraid, like when they asked me about the rate, what do I say? Like, how do I say that in an intelligent way so that I'm not setting myself up for the rate objection? It's all about rate and fees. And the other one was prospecting. And I love what James was saying and the panelists were saying. Prospecting, so much of it, if you'll flip the script and say, I'm prospecting to build relationships with people I know, like, and trust. It's no longer prospecting. It's looking for friends in the business. So when you do that, it's going to be game over. But here's what happens is, once you start walking through the numbers and somebody talks about rate, here's what they'll say. Hey, what's your rate? You ever heard that? Here's what I'll ask them is, where do you think rates are at currently? Because if I answer, I lose. Oh, how many of us go in and say, well, today it's 3.875, 3.5 if you pay a point, just so I can compete online, right? Don't say that. Just say, hey, Sue, where do you think rates are today? And you know what happens? That guy who's going to say, oh, they're 3%. Based on what? You have to say it. Say, based on what? Based on what? Well, I heard the Fed cut the funds rate. Fantastic. Was there anything else? No, the Fed cut rates. Well, and then you can go into your explanation. Come up with your own, but it actually moved inverse, not the same direction. I tell people it's like owning Microsoft and looking at Apple. Tech sector typically moves in the same direction. Sometimes they don't. But don't answer. Ask them the rate, like where do they think rates are at? And then here's what I always end with is this. Hey, if I were locking us in today, Heath, the rate today would be 3.625. That's without points. And so if you wanted a lower rate, we could look at that. I'm not a big fan of paying points. What are you thinking? And I shut up. Because some of them will say, my gosh, that's fantastic. The others will say, I thought rates were a little bit lower. You say, here's the good news. If I were quoting a rate range, because you're not currently under contract, that's the deal. It's a rate range. Don't quote a rate. A rate range today is 3.5 to 4 1/8. So the question is, it goes back to your goals. I can get you whatever you need, whatever you want. But if you're asking for my professional opinion, I don't like paying points. I think you're trying to pay today for the hope of future savings. My encouragement is save that money today and get the best market rate today. And Michael Harrington, my friend here, which was so funny, he gave me one of the best tools. And is anybody here from Quicken? Nobody? Okay, don't raise your hand. Don't record this. But I love doing this. And here's the other thing, the other way, whenever they say, hey, here's your rate range. If we were locking in today, be 3.75. Tell me what your thoughts are. I'll hear what they have to say. Hey, if you want lower, we can get lower. I personally, my professional opinion, I don't advise it. Hey, and one of the things I always want you to know, too, Quicken is the largest purchase money lender in the country. Passed Wells Fargo this last year. And they're the most reputable online lenders, right? So if I look at Quicken today, they're at 3.875. But if you go underneath the J.D. Power Awards, that's with 2 points. I'm quoting you today at 3.875 with 0 points. Do you have any concerns about that? Yes, well, but here's what I would tell you is these are tools to overcome the rate objection. That help? I got 6 minutes left. Let me give you the one that I feel like is what has absolutely changed our business is this. When you close for the business and you've gone through those, and my challenge to you is this, do not quote the rate. People don't care. If you answer sales price, monthly payment, cash to close, you don't have to give a rate. I challenge you in your next loan consult, tomorrow or this afternoon, see what happens when that's all you give. And you'll be like, oh, crap, it worked. It worked. And then they'll come back and say, hey, by the way, what's that rate? Well, if I were locking you in today, here's what it would be. But here's the rate range. So just be aware it moves every day. Okay, you ready? Everybody say, is there anything that would prevent me from being your lender? Turn to your right neighbor and say that. That was awkward, wasn't it? Because everybody's like looking that way. Okay. Is there anything that would prevent me from being your lender? It is the toughest thing in the world to say. I don't even remember who told me to say that. So I stole it from somebody else. I just added a few things because and listen, on the Loan Officer Leadership Podcast, I've got one that's the rate objection. I don't remember which episode. They'll throw it up at the end. But I'll tell you, what was interesting is this. You've got to feel comfortable with saying, hey, is there anything that would prevent me from being your lender? Why? Because that's what Stephanie taught me when I lost 40% of my business the first quarter of the year. Your high D's and your high C's, which are your drivers and your engineers, don't give a fat rat's about what you're doing and what you did outside of your normal work hours to help them get that home and give them the competitive advantage. All they care about is when I look at the rate today with my contract that you help win, they're an eighth lower and you're not, so I'm going with them. And if you ask this in the loan consult, is there anything that would prevent me from being your lender? I now know exactly where you stand. It's like dating a girl or trying to date somebody you never asked out. You're sitting there saying, man, I think we're good. I think we're good. They liked me. I liked them. The loan consult went well. Man, it was great. We did it right on time. I feel like I let them. Then you get a contract and they tell you you're shopping and you're like, you got to be kidding me. Because you didn't ask the question at the end of your loan consult, is there anything that would prevent me from being your lender? And if you want bonus points in 4 minutes, I'm going to tell you what I feel like has been the change in our business is this. I don't ask this every time, but I ask it most times. And I always gauge the client. You know, if it's somebody with a 640 credit score, they're thankful to get in the house. They're at 4.25 on a 30-year fix. They never mention the word rate one time, and you've done everything to get them set up to buy that house. 99% of the time, they're not shopping you, right? It's the other people, the higher-end buyers, higher-end clients that you have to say, hey, is there anything that would prevent me from being your lender? Shut up and listen, and now I know what my objections are. Hey, listen, I'm talking to 2 other lenders. Fantastic. What are you looking for in another lender? Why? I can't overcome what I don't know. And if I don't ask it, doesn't mean it's not there. It just means I didn't ask it. Great. So let me tell you, Jolea. Hey, I'll go through their objections, and then I'll say this. Hey, Jolea, in good faith, here's the ringer. In good faith, my team and I work on your behalf. Most people don't know this, and let me That's my favorite part is this. And this is where Stephanie said, I never knew unless you told me. She said, but I say in good faith, my team and I work on your behalf. And what most people don't know is this, Tammy, that when my team and I are working for you, my team is never compensated unless you go all the way through to closing. So in good faith, I'm asking you to commit to work with me as your lender. My team and I are going to give you the competitive advantage in today's marketplace. And here's the deal. When you commit to using me, it allows me to deploy the full resource of my office. That's it. Matt, are you going to turn away? Maybe. But here's what I know. If that guy says, hey, I'm still going to shop you, guess what? I don't upfront underwrite that guy. I don't move them through my approval process. Guess what they get? A prequal. Bye-bye, Felicia. You get the one that says no income, no asset verified. Good job, hands, high five. Because here's what I was so tired of, was I would do all the work, expect the business, and they'd leave me the day of a contract for an eighth or $100. But you know what I do now? I'm telling you right now, can I free you? 10% of your clients are going to leave you regardless. And when they leave, you keep on moving. So when they say, hey, I'm still shopping, fantastic. Let me tell you this. My team and I are competitive. Not only are we competitive, we're committed to you getting in that home. But until you commit to working with me as my lender, as your lender, I'm not able to deploy the full resource of my office behind you because my approval makes a difference. And in a competitive offer situation, we're going to win that deal. So once you decide who you want to use, call me. I'll get you fully underwritten up front. We'll go get that house, and I'll close you in 20 days. How about that? And then he says, well, great, I'm going to still shop. And I'm like, peace, bro. And I'm on to my next. But instead of investing all that time, energy, and effort, thinking I'm saving a deal, but the truth is I never closed for the business. Good stuff? Thank you, guys. My time's up.